Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Mildenhall and Districts. And my name is Susannah, and I live with trains. And today it is Susannah's Come Build With Me, episode 2, I guess. And we're going to be making some buildings today. And we're not going to only be making one building. We'll be making 2 buildings. And not only are we making 2 buildings, but we're making 2 buildings in 2 different ways. So this video promises to be a really long video. However, if you stick with it, it will give you all the foundations you need to basically make your own buildings in the future, whether it be a depot building or any other type of building. It will just give you some sort of skills if you are interested, that is, in making this. Because on this first part is literally all about the foundations. So it isn't going to be, so don't sort of be thinking that it's going to be a finished building at the end of this video, because there isn't. It's going to be basically 2 base buildings that you're going to have a look at that have been made in 2 different ways, and I'm going to show you the 2 different construction techniques that I use to make these buildings. And then you can decide if you are interested in making your own buildings or having a go at making your own buildings. You can decide which method might be easier for you or better for you, and that's what it's all about. So I'm deliberately doing this as a 2-part video, because what I'm showing you in this first part can pretty much apply to any building that you want to make, because it's all about the thought process, the considerations that you need to make, and also the type of buildings and all the rest of it. It's just, and how they're constructed and making the foundations of building them. And then the rest, the decorating part, is totally down to you, because like I said, this building is like a totally customizable building. So that's why I wanted to separate the 2 parts, because what I'm going to be making is basically a similar type of building to what I've got going on here, which I'll spin you around in a minute to give you a better idea. But I'm going to be doing it in the GBRF colours. And these are based on the brand new buildings over at Peterborough that they've been building. And if I've got an image, I will throw you up an image, and I'm sure the thumbnail will probably have already given it away in any case. But that's pretty much what I'm going to be building. But that doesn't mean to say that that's what you would like to build. But by me sort of talking you through the construction process, the thought process, the things that I've considered in the lead up to getting the building that I particularly want, it will all hopefully help you when you're making your decisions as to what you want and all the rest of it. So without further ado, I think I'm going to spin you around and show you these buildings and talk to you about what I have in mind about making. So, and then start talking to you through all the considerations that I keep saying you, but it's entirely, I mean, you might not be interested in this video, but that I go through, the things that I think about in my mind before I even start. So that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at. So hopefully this video is going to help you. Like I said, this video is all about giving you the foundations and the construction techniques to sort of show you how I go about building these buildings, and to actually show you it's not actually that difficult to do, and also to encourage people to have a go, because this day and age, just to buy a building of any description is pretty steep in money. So by doing it this way, you might be able to save yourself a few quid. That depends which route you go. Like I said, when it comes to detailing, and like I said, if you want to build a GBRF one, then by all means watch the second part and all the rest of it. But like I said, it's totally customizable. So firstly, I'm going to spin you around and I'm going to show you what we're sort of aiming for. So these 3 buildings that you see in front of you are what is my Freightliner depot at the front of the building, at the front of the layout. Now this one here was the first one, or was it? It might have been that one. Either way, these buildings have been here for some time. In fact, it was that one. I remember now. Sorry. Yeah, so this one was the first one I built. And as you can see by me tapping on it, these are sturdy buildings, and these are card buildings which have been clad in plastic card. So we're going to be making a building out of card as a base, and then obviously when you come to decide how you want to do it, then you can clad it in whichever way from. But that's more like part 2. But you might need to do that's part of the consideration as well. So let's just talk about that in a little while. So basically, what I'm going to be building for myself for my GBRF depot is basically a variation of this one and a variation of that one over there at the back one, which I did very, very recently. Essentially, the one at the back there is going to be slightly longer, but we'll get to that in a moment. So let's talk about considerations and what you have to sort of consider before you even start. So before you even start, you really need to think about what type of building that you want. The way I looked at it was I wanted something for my Freightliner locomotives. So therefore, I went onto Google to look at Freightliner depots to see what was around. So the first thing to consider is do your research. That is the number one. Do your research. You don't have to. It's up to you how you go about your modelling. If you want to go and just plonk a Metcalf kit or something to put that on your layout, that's fine. Or if you just want to buy a resin building, then that's also fine. There's no rights and wrongs. But for me, when I wanted something for my Freightliner depot, I wanted something that kind of screamed Freightliner depot. So like I said, the first thing is doing your research. So when I did my research, I came across some buildings, some images. Like I said, all you had to do is just do a Google search on the images and just type in Freightliner depot or whatever building. And it came up with various buildings. I'm just talking about this one, for instance, at the moment. And when I got these images, I then looked at the description of these images, and that will usually tell you which depot these buildings are from. So they might turn around and say, oh, this is a picture taken from a Freightliner depot in Leeds or Manchester or wherever. From there, I then do a Google Maps view and search of Freightliner depot in Manchester or whatever to get a better, sorry, my apologies, me knocking the tripod. So for me to get a better idea of what buildings are there. Then from there, I'm trying to get an idea of what these buildings are there for, what they actually do. And so that's why this is important, just to do the research, because it will give you an idea. Because to me, if somebody comes here and says, oh, I like your buildings, what's this one supposed to be? Or what's that one supposed to be? I can then turn around and say to people, well, this is the maintenance shop, this is the loco shed, and this one does the wagon works or whatever. Then I know exactly what it's for, or what it does, and what it's supposed to be there for, and there's a reason for these buildings to be here. What I also like about having these multiple buildings is that they are all different. They're different sizes, they're different shapes, and that also adds to the scene. I mean, I don't think I'd like it if all the buildings were exactly the same. So then also through Google Images, you'll find out the sort of shape of the buildings, because sometimes you get these images on Google Images and you'll just see the front of the building, or maybe the front and the side, but you don't necessarily get the roof view. So that's why I go into the Google Maps to have an idea of what sort of buildings are there. And so it's very important, in my case, in any case, was to do the research first. That's how I looked at it. The second kind of thing that I would sort of say is keep it simple. in terms of the buildings. I mean, I know it's not always. I'm quite lucky that these Freightliner ones, and I should say, when I did these Freightliner ones, I wasn't planning on doing the GBRF ones, which I'm going to be doing now. So, and as it turned out, I don't know if it's the same style or modern style of building sheds, but the Peterborough GBRF depot is not too dissimilar in shape. In fact, it's virtually identical in shape. So it makes it easier because I've already pre-built these 3 buildings and they are all more or less the same shape. They're all different and they've all got variations. And as you can see, this one's, oh, there we go, me knocking things again. This first building here's got a lean-to attached to it and it's got roof lights and skylights. This one is a second, my second building is a single lane carriage shed, also with skylights. But it's a single lane and it's also higher. This is the tallest building of the 3, and it's got, I think it's the tallest building. Actually, I think these 2 are identical in height. Actually, it's the one at the back that's lower. And again, when you're considering what you're doing, you have to take into factors what do you want these buildings to do, and because that will determine the height, the length, the shape of the building. For example, this one is a single lane carriage engine shed, but it can be a wagon's works as well. But this one's tall, and someone originally had said, oh, that seems way too tall, you don't need it that tall. But there's a reason. Because this one here, likewise, like with this one, is supposed to be having cranes in it or jacks in it, so you need to be able to raise the body. So therefore, by raising the body, you need the height of the building. Whereas that one there at the back does not have that height. That is simply like might have a pit underneath. So you can do the running gear underneath and doing some light maintenance or whatever. So whereas this one's doing a different purpose. This one is actually raising the body off the chassis, whereas that one wouldn't be because it hasn't got the height in the building. So you've got these different buildings doing different things, so and got different purposes. So you need to bear that in mind when you're constructing or thinking about what you want to put in here. So when you're thinking about these things, you also, the second thing I would say, once you've done your research, now you've done your research and you're happy with what you want to say, like I said, the second thing is to keep it simple. Keep your buildings relatively simple, and these buildings are simple to build. They really are. They really don't look as difficult. They're not as difficult to build as you might think they are. The third thing is to look at the placement, where you're going to put this, and so you have to kind of work out where you're going to put these things. Have you physically got enough space to put these buildings where you think you're going to put them? So you have to look at whereabouts in your layout you're going to put it. You know, yeah, it's all well and good having that idea in your head, you want to put this building, but where are you going to put it? Is it going to fit? Is it going to make sense? This is something else that I look at. So here we are at the back of the layout where these new buildings are going to be. The next thing you need to look at, thirdly, is you need to look at your track plan and to see where ideally you'd like to put things. Now, what I've done is, this isn't ideal, to be truthful with you. I would have liked to have more space, but this space that I have here on this part of the layout is actually a lot smaller than what I have at the front of the layout. So let me just zoom you out a bit more so you can actually see more of what's going on here. It actually looks like quite a big space, but in reality it isn't that big. Now, originally my plan was to put just one building, but I liked the 2 buildings so much that I wanted to have one of each. So here I was playing around with the track plan, and like I said, you just need to get the track plan and then see what you think works, because obviously you don't want to build this building and then realise that you can't fit the track plan into that building because you've got tight corners or the geometry isn't going to work out the way you want it to be. So what I did for this bit is, many of you may have scrap card, or even have you got scrap foam board or anything that you've got lying around. And I've got these two, and I've got these two. These are very, very, very useful tools. These are absolutely brilliant. I made these out of scratch, and what they are is basically templates. These are templates, and they are bookends. And what they do is it allows me to build the building without building the building. So that's what I can do. So essentially, I've made these two templates, one for each end, and then I can play around on the track plan and maybe adjust the track plan using these two ends to work out where I'm going to put this building. So if I wanted to, I can have the front like that, and then that would be the back end. So if you can see it like that, so that would be bookended like that. So you see where I'm going with this. Or if you don't want the orientation of the door on the left, you can just simply do it the other way around. So again, this allows you to play with the track plan before you actually build the building, and you might be able to readjust it. And what you can do, so what I've decided to do in my case is I've decided to put the building something like that. So this is made out of foam board, but so again, apologies for me kicking the tripod. I have a habit of kicking the tripod. So now this gives me an idea of where I'm going to put the building. You can see where it's going to look like, how tall it's going to look like, and I haven't even built the building. So these are templates that I've made, and it's the same with the doubles. Now these ones are slightly different because one end's slightly different to the other one because the aperture is slightly different. As you can see, the middle piece is slightly thicker on this one, and this one's got a slightly thinner piece. And again, by playing with the templates, using scrap card, you can see what works for you. And again, I think the second building is going to go something like that, and that will go something like that. So without building the buildings, I have an idea of what it's going to look like on the layout. The other thing about having these templates, tape measure. You can now adjust accordingly. So as you can see, there's a foot. A foot is usually standard loco. Now, so what I tend to do is I tend to go for about 14 inches. And as it turns out, we have our 66, our Paulie 66, which I've since done some work to this. So hopefully it's going to be running better now. So there's a video coming out on this soon. We can now put our 66 there. So essentially, we've now parked the 66 in our engine shed. So if you're one of those people that isn't great for mathematics, and you're not one of those kind of people that wants to go and look at photographs and measure each photograph and then convert it to scale, ruler size and all that kind of stuff. If you're not that kind of person, I'm not. I just want to get on with it and do something that looks right, that I think is right. I've now made these templates. I can now adjust these templates accordingly to give me the size of the building that I want. So now what I've got is about 14 inches. So it's usually about 2 foot for the loco, but then I always add a couple of inches. Now if I add a couple of inches, that means that will bring that back down there. And as you can see, that will comfortably hold the 66. So maybe I'm going to put that, that's where that shed could go. So I'm really, really pleased with that. This one here is a bit more of a compromise because I was hoping, now hang on one moment. I've just brought over a second 66, also a Bachmann. Now again, once again, like I said before, if you're not one of those people who not quite sure scale and size, there are easy ways around this. And like I said, look at the photographs. That will give you a good idea of the scale and whether or not you've got your scale right or whether it's wrong. Another thing to do is you have to imagine, like I said before, what do you want this shed to do? Now, if you want this shed to be able to jack up the loco and take the body off and do the rest of it and raise it on its jacks, then essentially you need to make the building taller. So if you want to get the height, you just grab yourself another 66, just park that on top briefly, and that will give you an idea of whether or not you could actually raise the loco and have enough height, and that will tell you that the dimensions are right, or roughly right. So these are something, and it's just simple to me, common sense kind of stuff. This isn't like rocket science stuff. So like I said, if you're not one of those people who's not, I'm like I said, I'm not one of those people who's very good at maths. So, you know, when people start talking about 2 parts to this and 1 part to that, and you know, get your scale ruler out and put it against photographs and stuff to work out exactly what the sizes are. That sort of thing, I'm just not good at, and I don't have the patience or the inclination for. Whereas this is a very quick, easy way. You can work it out just like by doing that. You know, you can see how high the building needs to be because you can put 2 locos. So what you're just imagining with this second loco is that the chassis is down here and that they've raised the body off the chassis. So that's kind of what the second sort of loco kind of does. And as you can see, you can play around with these templates, these bookends, and you can move it a bit. Oh no, that's too long. I'll bring it in a bit. Fine, we can do that. The second one, which is this one here, I was hoping to get 2 feet out of this, but 2 feet, and that, again, this allows you to test the space you have before you actually commit to buying anything or commit to building anything. Like I said, if you've got scrap card lying around, you can use it to make these templates, and then you can then judge for yourself whether it's going to be enough or not. 2 feet would bring it out here. Unfortunately, that's not going to work. So there is going to have to be a compromise. I did want to make it 2 feet, but I'm going to have to make it a bit of a compromise. And the reason why I wanted 2 feet is like we sort of say, our locos are about 1 foot. And we've got 2 66s, if you part them nose to tail, sort of roughly like that. What I could do is probably take the buffer stop off the end here, maybe bring this out, and then that will allow you to bring the train right to the very end, and then you can have the train up to there. And so you could possibly get away with doing it. I still might. I have actually played with it and toyed with it, so I still might do that. So we've got what we got here, 23 inches. So just shy of an inch for the 2 feet. And again, like I said, you haven't spent any money yet or whatever. You're just contemplating it. You're just thinking about it, and you can see what you can do. But this is a GBRF depot. And because it's a GBRF depot, they don't only just have 66s, which ideally I'd like to, but we also have, GBRF also has 73s. That is a 73 at the bottom of your picture, and the 66 right next to that. And if you line them up together, you can see that there is a vast amount of difference in the length of a 73. So you could have it in such a way where you can have the shop actually having one of each in it. I mean, you quite easily take 2 73s here. So these are all things that you bear in mind. I mean, that you have to bear in mind, or that I bear in mind from what I'm doing right now. And if you're like me, this is the sort of thing that will help you. You know, because these are just simple things that you can do. You're not spending any extra money here. You're just sort of looking at these things, kind of going, you know, yeah, let's see what happens if I put that a bit further back. Let's see if I put it this way. Let's see if I put the orientation. Maybe if I put the building over here like that instead at an angle, will I get? And then you can sort of adjust the track plan accordingly. You know, before. I mean, for me, you know, I'm retrofitting this, which makes it more difficult. because I'm already having to squeeze this into an area which has already been pre-built. Like I said, if I was like building this layout from scratch or this part from scratch, and I was thinking and saying, oh look, I'm going to put the GBRF building here, or buildings, or depot here, I may have put this module, this section, made it different to what it is today. But this is the space I've got to work with, and these are the things that I'm bearing in mind. The other thing I had to consider was, did I really want 2 buildings? Maybe I could have just got away with 1 building, but I really wanted 2. So I'm just trying to find a way to have both. The other thing to consider is doors and windows. Doors and windows and playability. That's something else we have to look into. So I showed you in my last video that I bought this, and the reason why I bought this is I just removed the tape. Hopefully you've all understood the kind of concept and how I'm thinking about this. The next bit is access, and down here I've got the access here, and yeah, if we do that, that's it. I think you kind of get the idea. There you go, just so you can see the level crossing, so you know what you've got to. So the other thing is to play with the vehicles and sort of try and work out what you want to do with it. Now, like I said, this whole section here on this side is a bit of a compromise, but this is what I have to work with. But if you are, like I said, starting from scratch, these are things that you can do. So here's my lorry, and I'm just thinking to myself, right, okay, so the lorry comes along here, and now I'm thinking, right, so you can do your turnaround, and then that's fine, it can get round, and then it can go out once it's done its delivery. Perfect. How is it going to make its delivery? Right, what do I want it to do? So maybe I might want it to just come in here, and you can just sort of leave it, and then maybe you can have, say, bear with me a minute, and you might be thinking to yourself, okay, the lorry can be parked here. You can see the tail lift here, and maybe the guy would be offloading it, and the forklift would come from behind and offload the vehicle from behind. That's one option. The other option, and I've seen this in the photographs, and like I said, I was using the photographs as a guide, is you might want to offload it from the side, maybe. So maybe he's now offloading it from the side here, and maybe doing something like that, maybe. All these things to bear in mind. Or what we can do is maybe turn around and say that this lorry is coming in here, and he comes around here on the side of the building, he turns his lorry around, and then he reverses it, and maybe there's a bay on the side of the building. So he's pulled right up against the bay, and now the lorry is getting offloaded into the side of the building through the bay door on the side of the building. And these are, again, this is something that you have to bear in mind, you know, with these buildings, when you're thinking about, I want to build one of these buildings. Okay, what is the purpose of this building? What do I want it to do? Do I want it to raise the body and do the loco works? Okay, if so, how are we going to get the parts in there or whatever? How are we going to load it? How the workers going to get there? All that kind of stuff. So these are kind of things that I kind of do. So I'm now like playing with this. And like I said in the last video, he said, you know, I've got this lorry here. If I decided that I'll tell you what, we'll bring an Arctic in here. Okay, there you go, got our Arctic. Here it comes, coming down the side. Again, we could stop it on the side and do what we did before. Get the forklift to come alongside it, offload it. So we can do that. or you can do it again from behind. You can do that. Or once again, can you get this Arctic? It's very tight, especially when I put the wall in here. That's going to be tight. So, and then do you want it to load into the bay? Again, it's a bit tricky. It's a bit messy. So, do I want to do that? Or maybe I could utilize this little space here. Maybe I could turn around and say, look, okay, here comes the Arctic. It's coming in here. Right, okay, it's now going to be reversing. Beep, 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 beep. And then maybe, again, you can offload it from the side or from the back and load it into that corner there or whatever. Maybe you've got a wagon and maybe your wagon is going to be offloading. So the wagon's actually going to come into the actual yard and be brought in with, say, a shunter or something like that. So we've now got a little shunter wagon, or a little wagon. Drop side, maybe the goods are coming in by train. Who knows? And then when it comes into these buildings, the tall buildings, it could be hoisted off or whatever and be dropped across, possibly. So these are all things to sort of consider. Like I said, with this track plan here that I've got going on here, it's a bit of a compromise, but I'm hoping that what I'm explaining to you kind of gives you an idea as to my thought process and what I'm thinking about before I even go anywhere near buying anything, because like I said before, at least here I haven't really spent any money. But even if worst comes to the worst and you have bought a big piece of card, it's not the end of the world. It's not expensive. So this is kind of now where I'm at. And that is there. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that the single road engine shed is going to go there. The double road is going to go here, because I wanted it to. We're going to have the fueling point at the back, and then we're going to have the walling, the Metcalf walling that's going to wrap around and wrap round all the way around the front here. So now we've taken into consideration all of those things that I've discussed, which is the research, the track plan, the functionality, the dimensions, the purpose, and all of that kind of stuff. And you're still happy that you've had a good look, you've checked everything, you're happy with where it's all going to go and how it's going to fit, then the next thing to do is to go out and get the materials. So now I'm going to be inserting a bit of footage that I took earlier today at my local art shop, and a massive thank you to David and Roy, but it was David who was there today, and he allowed me to do some filming in his store because he was so grateful for me doing some publicity for him. Now, I must say, this isn't no kind of affiliate link or anything like that. It's just, he's a really nice guy. Both him and David are really nice people. They always give me good customer service, and they're very friendly. Even the dog, Waffle, is also very friendly, which you'll meet. And he's got a great selection of things. And like I said, I always like to support the local businesses and the local community. Yes, I could go to Hobbycraft or somewhere like that to buy some of these items. And yes, maybe it might be slightly cheaper from Hobbycraft or something. I don't know the prices exactly, so I could actually be wrong. But the thing being, is that that's in Basingstoke and I'm in here in Alton, and my local model shop is in Alton here. And it's just so handy, and it's not worth, for a few pennies or whatever that I might have saved to go all the way to Basingstoke to do that. So I'm going to insert the footage here, and then I'll come back to you and show you exactly what I bought and a bit of a bonus.
Good morning everybody, and a very warm welcome to Milton Hall and Districts. And today you are joining me in a very wet Alton, and we are outside the alternative packaging store here at my local art shop, where I come to get all my bits and pieces for my modelling. And I've kindly asked David if I can film in his shop to show you guys what he has to offer you guys should you come and visit, and he's more than happy for me to do so. And I just want to quickly spin you around, because what's going to happen is, oh, if I can just spin you around a second, there you go. Right down the end there, that is Alton Railway Station. You can sort of see the tower there for the footbridge. So that's the footbridge for the railway station. So it's literally right next door to the railway station. And as you can see, this is his store. And we're going to take a little wander inside, and I'm going to show you kind of what I kind of get from here. It is a proper sort of Aladdin's cave.
Sorry.
Yes, yeah, that's fine.
Sorry.
Oh, look.
Are you alright? Did you find what you wanted? Or
Say hello, Waffle. This is Waffle.
Alright, oh yeah.
How are you?
And I think I may have.
And I always come here for all sorts of stuff. As you can see, there's so much stuff in here. It's like an Aladdin's cave.
Yeah, very.
So you've got a glue gun down there, which is always very handy to have. So we're going to just take you to the back of the store, because this is where I sort of come. So he's got all his paints, acrylics and everything. It's like an Aladdin's cave, like I said in here. All sorts of stuff. Like I said, if you don't have an art shop, you can go to Hobbycraft or whatever, but I always like to shop locally, and I'm very thankful and grateful that he's literally 5 minutes from where I live. So as you can see, so this is my foam board. So this is what I'm going to be making one of my buildings out of. So I've got this, and then this is mount board, and you can see the thickness there. And then this is like A0. So this is like £11.99 a sheet.
Believe it or not, that needs white in it. If you put some mixing, that's the close.
So there you go. So that's the foam board. And then you've got this. This is my mount board, and it's exactly the same size. Just so you can see, it is the same size, but obviously you can see that the thickness is a lot different. But I'm going to build one building out of this, one building out of that, and then the other thing I want to get whilst I'm here is I want to get some sugar paper. And I think it was David that introduced me to this stuff last time I was here. It might have been Roy. It's either one of the two. And it's 79p a sheet, and this is basically I think it's what I showed you when I did the Susannah's Can Build with me. It's basically like a cheap A1 sheet of paper, and you can use this stuff to sort of like do your templates, and rather than sort of having like sort of all these little odd sheets of newspaper or A4 paper which you stitch together to try and make one big template, you've just got this cheap sheet of paper A1 called sugar paper. And then you can basically use that. And I'm going to take a couple of sheets because I've got quite a big template to make. I'm not exactly sure how much of this I'm going to need. But because it's 79p, it's so cheap. And the thing is, things like this are so handy to have when you're modelling. And so I'm just going to, as you can see, there's all kinds of paper here, all kinds of mount board. Like I said, for the sugar paper, it's literally just the cheapest thing. Because like I said, it's going to all get cut up and you're not going to use it. I mean, well, you might reuse it. So let me just go and get another sheet. Bear with me a minute. So you can see there's all kinds of card and mount board. He does smaller pieces. Like I said, there's big sheets. This is an A0, which is £11.99. Now, the thing you've got to look at with foam board as well whilst we're here, is that foam board gets damaged quite easily. So you've got to be careful, because if you don't need that bit, that's fine. But if you do, you just need to bear that in mind. So he's got all kinds of stuff. There's also this kind of foam board here, which is black foam board. So if you wanted to maybe make some roads out of this, you could probably do that. But I'd still probably go with the white because of the techniques that I showed you previously that I've done in the past. And after, he's also got some, I think some airbrush stuff as well. But I'm also, whilst I'm here, I might get a new cutting mat, because I could do with a new cutting mat. But I think that one is a slightly bigger, too big a one. Because I've got a huge one at home, but I wanted to get like a medium-sized one, which is probably going to be something like this. That's an A4. This is A3. Yeah, I think I need something like that actually. That's not bad. £6.99. I mean, sometimes you think, oh, you can get this stuff maybe cheaper elsewhere or something like that. But to be honest with you, if I don't get it from here, I'd have to go to Hobbycraft, and Hobbycraft is just not even worth the fuel to go there, because that's all the way back in Basingstoke. And like I said, I always prefer to shop locally. So that's that. We're going to go with that as well. And like I said, it really is worth coming here. I mean, look at all this stuff that he's got going on here. All this paints to choose from. If you like Tamiya, like you've got RC cars, stuff like that. I've used these in the past. He's got a whole rack of these. Tamiya masking tape, got that over there. And like I said, all kinds of, if we go around the back here. It was actually really busy in here earlier on, so I had to stop filming. So, but you've got all kind of mount boards and stuff like that, paper, pads, all kinds of stuff, all that kind of stuff that you need. Literally around the corner from the railway station.
Okay, you've got a bit of stick in the end there.
So you've got all this kind of tape to choose from as well, look, see? So everything you need is here.
That's sweet. We'll have to have a look at your YouTube now.
PVA, always come here for PVA, it's cheaper like that, then go to Wix's. Then you've got the small Diddy glue gun, but I'm not really a fan of the smaller ones because they tend to be more expensive to run.
Got a big one, right?
But he, like I did show you earlier, he's just pointing out he has got the big one as well. The reason why I'm not a fan of these ones is, I'll tell you why, look, you look at the price of these glue sticks for the small ones, they tend to be more expensive than if you just buy he's got these singular ones which I buy from here as well. But the small glue guns do have their uses for modelling. And then he's got all kinds of stuff here. So, hole punchers and stuff like that. Anything else you need for students, kids, whatever. Any kind of modelling. Just come
Oh, go on. Not me.
Say goodbye, Waffle. Such a cute dog. Yes, Waffle the shop dog. Very friendly. Well, like Roy and David. Sorry if it's a bit out of focus. So, I know some of you are probably thinking, gosh, when are we actually going to get round to actually building these buildings? So that will come straight after this, I promise. Like I said, I've gone through all of that stuff in the beginning because I just felt it was quite important to sort of show you. Now, before we do go to the building of the front, one thing I wanted to show you as well before, and like I said, I'll just show you the metro, is that I forgot to mention in my layout update that I actually got round to finally, some of you will know that I've been promoting Diesel Dog models on eBay because he's been doing some fantastic stuff. And like I said, I showed you that he done this forklift, or front loader, I should probably say, to give it its proper name, it probably is like a front loader. Oh. So that's that. I then showed you that I also got a mini digger from him, which I then painted, which is this one. And again, what I'll do is I'll see if I can insert some images, some still images in here, in case it does come up a bit blurry or something like that. So you can have it. Now, I did say in the last one, and this is something you haven't seen yet, that I also got the skid steer, which he kindly sent me for nothing. And again, it's not an affiliate link or anything, he just kindly did that. And he sent me a skid steer because I really liked it. And this thing is tiny, just so you can see, look at that. That is so cool. I finally got around to painting this. Got some images off of Google and just followed some of the images of one that I liked. It's like in the JCB type colours, you know, and it's so cool and it's cute. And it's just, yeah, it's cool. And again, I will insert some still images just in case it doesn't come up. But there you go, in case it just doesn't focus properly. Because sometimes these things don't. So I'm really pleased with my purchases from Diesel Dog Models on eBay. And these are all tiny little bits and pieces that will come good on the layout. It just does make a lot of difference. So I'll take some still images for you and then show them, and then we'll get on to actually building the building.